Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My tweet, a social entrepreneur. I think a social entrepreneur should be rebellious, should always want to make money, and always better everybody around them, certainly when it comes to business, if not further on into their career. Now, me as an entrepreneur, I never wanted to be a social entrepreneur. I always wanted to be successful, and I always wanted to make money. And from the age of about 8, I always knew that I wanted to work in the design industry, always good at art. It was the only thing that excited me, and I was always rebellious, and I think that's probably a contributing factor to most entrepreneurs that you'll ever come across. So about the age of 13, and I'm sure many of you've been there, you get to go on that school work experience. And my school wanted to send me off to this manufacturing outlet. I mean, for starters, I'd have to get my hands dirty. And secondly, I'd actually have to do some manual labour. So I refused, point blank. I was not going, and I ended up being suspended for 2 weeks. Parents furious, grounded, and I thought, all right, I'm going to sort my own work experience out. So I wrote to the Football Association, ironically, when they were in Bayswater, 13, and they took me on for these 2 weeks during work experience. I used to get on the train, go to Victoria, call my mum for a payphone, get on the underground, get out of Bayswater, call my mum, and then this every day for 2 weeks. And looking back, I don't know how she put up with it, to be honest. And then from the age of like 13 to 15, all I did, every single school holiday, I went back to the Football Association and worked for free for that whole time. And I guess learnt so much. It got to 15, GCSEs coming up, and I was not staying on. School, I was really good at school. I didn't have to try, I didn't really even have to turn up, and I'd still leave with good grades. But for me, it was like community service. Honestly, I knew I had to go, and I knew I had to be there, but it just wasn't for me. So at 15, I wrote to about 200 design and print companies, and I said to them, I still got the letter, I said to them, I want a job in your industry. I've worked for the Football Association. I've done this, this, and this. I will work 1 month for you for free. And if you like me, I want £6,000 a year. And I thought, I'm rocking and rolling on 6K a year. And somebody took me on. I worked for them for a year, got fired. I got another job at 17, 18, ran a very large design agency department at like 17, 18. Got fired after about 18 months there. Then I went to Mexico on holiday, because I always think in a crisis, the best thing to do is to go on holiday and then reevaluate the situation. So I went on holiday, I went to Mexico of all places, and I was meant to be going on a 1-week all-inclusive holiday. 3 months later, I came back. Again, my mum furious, and I'd literally just turned 18. And I cottoned on that at night, the buses aren't used, the first choice tour buses aren't used. So I did this deal with First Choice, where I used to rent their tour buses out. I used to then fill them up with Americans, take them into town, get them drunk, and bring them home. And I was doing 4 52-seaters a night at $20 a head, and paying First Choice next to nothing. It got to the stage where I then moved in with First Choice staff accommodation, because obviously my tab at the hotel has run out. But after 3 months, you have to do the right thing and come home. And I did the same thing, wrote to a load of companies in London and said, I'm going to work in London, I want 18 grand a year, take me on. And a company in Battersea took me on. And for 4 years, to the age of about 21, I grew their business to a 5 million turnover. I was sales director, I had a team of 32 beneath me, and I was rocking and rolling. We were purely designed for print, that's all we did. And taking into account my previous experience of always being fired, whenever I voiced my opinion, I was always fired, and I had a real problem at this company. 2005, there was social media just started, websites were becoming fairly, the common thing, and I asked the board to sack 10 staff, re-employ 5 staff, but those 5 staff still equated to those 10 staff that I wanted to sack's wages, and I wanted 60 grand in cash to invest in the business. I got sacked. And that was the 31st of March, 2006, I got sacked. It was a Friday, I'll never forget it. And I'd just bought my flat, so I now had a mortgage. I've now been sacked. And what I ended up doing is the following day I started Creative Pod in my second bedroom, and literally door knocked and door knocked and door knocked. A full service little design agency, and it was me. And people would say, can I come to your office? And I'd meet them at the Hilton or the Grand. And after about 3 months, I got cabin fever, moved across town into my mum's house and set up the office in her dining room. She got home from work and evicted me. And the next day, this is no word of a lie, the next day I cleared out her bedroom, left her bed in it, put my Mac on her dressing table and started Creative Pod effectively from my mum's bedroom. And on a creosote-covered deck chair in her bedroom is where I sat for 9 months, hustling and doing deals and winning business. And we grew really, really, really quickly. I ended up employing somebody who worked from home. We moved into service offices. The company had grown to, in literally 2 years, to like a £400,000 turnover. And then the recession hit. And literally overnight, I lost my biggest client, who was 80% of my turnover. So I was like dead in the water. So I got rid of the member staff, went on holiday. It's a perfect opportunity, right? Another crisis. So this time, I took the girlfriend of the time to Dubai. And two days into our holiday, and you'll start seeing a pattern here, 2 days into our holiday, I can hear these blokes having a chat behind me saying they want to do marketing, exhibition stand, branding, printing, go around and introduce myself. I've got a big agency in London, this is what I do. They don't know that we're crumbling because we've lost our biggest account. So they say to me, come back and pitch to our chief exec tomorrow morning at our offices. I turn up, honestly, in my smartest Nike shorts and T-shirt and trainers. I had my laptop on me, did a presentation to the board, and ended up winning a £100,000 project on holiday 2 days in. Well, that girlfriend is no longer. And I ended up flying to and from Dubai over an 11-day period to deliver this 100K project. It was absolutely incredible. It was like being on The Apprentice, but with your own money. And I didn't have very much in savings because of the business struggling. And then we grew into the Middle East. I ended up staying in Dubai for a year and a half. We had offices in the media city. We ended up rebranding the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah over a 24-month period. And to give an insight into that project, it was like herding frogs. That's the only way to kind of describe it. And because of all these crazy antics overseas, I ended up coming back to the UK in 2010, winning Young Entrepreneur of the Year in Europe, winning it in this country as well. And that's the moment I became a social entrepreneur. I didn't know I was going to become one, but that was the night, the 4th of March 2010. It was a Thursday night, if I remember correctly. And I got blind drunk at this awards ceremony because that's what you do if you don't expect to win. And the last award up was Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and my name's called out. I don't know how I got to the stage. Nick Hewer from The Apprentice was hosting the evening. And after you win these awards, you're dragged off stage, journalists grab you, and then they start interviewing you. I'm wasted, and I haven't really had much PR training. And this journalist says to me, she says, what are you going to do next? Have another drink, probably. So I said to her, you and me are going to go and find the next me. And after that event, we ended up meeting, and Young Startup Talent was born. And Young Startup Talent is a social enterprise aimed to inspire 16 to 25-year-olds to start their first business. We operate in Gatwick, Brighton, East Kent and West Kent. We work with the Prime Minister's office, central government, and we run workshops and seminars all across the southeast. We get in front of about 35,000 youngsters, and in each area there's a £50,000 prize. So it's an amazing platform for youngsters to better themselves. And 4 years on from that, we have a plethora of amazing entrepreneurs who are employing people, who are creating jobs. Some of them are making more money than me, and they're doing so well. And I think that's a real credit to the business communities in those areas, all pulling together for one core force to better the talent of tomorrow, the next generation of youngsters. And that process has been a complete whirlwind. Creative Pod has now grown. There's 12 of us, and I look back and I think, crikey, it started in my mum's bedroom. I've now got 12 mouths to feed at the end of every month. Young Startup Talent's now got 5 staff. We've still got the setup in the Middle East, and it's all growing because of all the good work we do. And my opinion is the more good work you do, the more money you'll make. And it's that kind of karma. And if you establish that young in your career, I think you're going to make shed loads of money. Because I have a real bee in my bonnet with entrepreneurs who become really, really successful, and then they start giving back. And I think that's almost too late. I think when you're a young entrepreneur, and from experience, when you're young and you want to make money and you're really driven, people think you're arrogant, people think you're money-orientated, a capitalist, some sort of dictator. And that's not the case. It's just that you're so driven and you don't have a wife and children and all the rest of it preventing you from being that driven, because sometimes you do have to work really, really long hours. And I think that's what makes that difference with a youngster. Never let somebody think you can't do it. always go against the grain. And I find that believing in your gut is don't ever let your heart rule your gut. And finally, on the Crawley Town football thing, I've found so far in my career, I've been an MD now for 10 years, so like a third of my life. It's quite weird. And from the age of 4, the first ever game of football I went to see was Crawley Town. My granddad took me. They were non-league. I can remember sharing opal fruits with the goalie. That's how long ago it was. And 20-odd years later, I was invited to pitch to the board of the football club for their new marketing strategy. Now they were a professional team. And the board ended up inviting me onto the board. So I'm the youngest director of professional football at the moment. Crawley Town are doing really, really well, just like Brighton. And everything we do as a business, as individuals, always betters everyone around us. And we put that entrepreneurial energy into absolutely everything we get involved in, and it just makes things happen, it makes things flourish. But I do honestly believe not everybody should be an entrepreneur. I think if the whole world was everybody in the world was an entrepreneur, nothing would ever get done. Nothing would ever get done. And you need leaders and you need followers, and I think it's really important that young people especially fulfill their dreams and make sure that they don't stop believing in anything they want to achieve or anything they want to do. And if there's ever a hurdle in your way, don't worry about it. There will always be a way around it. Thank you very much for listening.